I'm gonna delete when I Blender's quite interesting now with all the new procedural nodes. That was in its infancy last time I used Blender, but that's actually quite a good thing. Like, if it brings that stuff, you know, um, if it brings that stuff a bit closer, then that's fantastic. Blender's got really good dynamics in it, like the cloth simulation and the fluids. I remember when ZBrush finally got its dynamics, and it wasn't even that long ago when like they launched dynamics in ZBrush, and everyone was like, "Oh, finally it's catching up to Blender," and it's kind of like, well, God, these are two different tools. Like, you can't view them similarly. ZBrush is really good at that one thing, right? Blender's a full-on like 3D modeling suite. Which definitely can be used like which definitely can be used in a production which definitely can be used in like a full production studio. You've seen it. Like, but those guys are also using Maya. Blender's just like part of the package. It's part of the pipeline. If you're big enough that you have someone managing your pipeline for you. The problem, you can imagine all the pipelines are built around Maya. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and that's it. But if you have someone like managing your pipeline for you, who's willing to put the effort in to slot Blender features in there, then it could be really good. But then again, if you have like a small team, so I don't know if you've heard of a company called Barnstorm VFX. They did the VFX for Man in the High Castle, the Amazon show, and they did a lot of that work in Blender. So a lot of the old Nazi Germany renders they did that in cycles in Blender. But the thing was, like, Blender was just part of the pipeline. And the reason that they chose Blender was because the team was quite small at the time. And they had a bunch of people who were just using all of these different things that was so hard to slot together. And so, like, as a group discussion, they were like, well, what can we do inside our pipeline in order to make things easier to talk to each other, seeing as all of the tools that we're using are so disparate? And the answer that they came up with was to hire a guy to make Blender work for everyone. And so that's what they did. So there's definitely Blender can be used and still is going to be used in like production, but you still got to have that guy, you know? And the other option is, of course, you pay Autodesk or you pay SideFX or you pay the Foundry, like whatever it is per year, to do all that for you, to like have it slotted in there because you know they're going to do it, right? Yeah. So if there's only just like me, right? I don't have the time to like make sure that Blender's going to work with it, every plugin. I don't have the time to like debug, like, what is it? Is it the GoB? So like the Blender equivalent of GoZ. It would be nice, you know, but no. If someone would come along and go, okay, well, you know what, we're gonna take Blender, and we're gonna make it into a commercial product and we're gonna sell it. Like, can you even imagine what the response to that? But the thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna actually provide the commercial level support that you get with those things, then that would be a great thing. It's not like it hasn't been done before. I mean, what's Docker? Docker is just Linux containers with a branding on it. Like, that makes it a lot easier to use. But Blender has got this Blender's got this following that's going to make that really hard. It's going to be a really hard sell. And also, like, it's in that space. Like, Docker was one of the first products that did what it did. But now Blender's in that space where you've got all of these other products that just do that anyway. So there's never going to be any mileage in doing that. So if you want to use Blender in a studio, you're always going to have someone in charge of your pipeline who's willing to do that. Like, you have to have a good reason to use it over everything else. And then you're going to have a guy that works in your pipeline that is willing to do that. It's willing and able to do that. I've still like actually given quite a bit of money to Blender over the years as well. Like, we've actually like donated quite a bit in the past because it's got a good mission. Like